The story of Abraham is one of the most significant narratives in the Bible, appearing in the book of Genesis. It is a story of faith, obedience, and trust in God's promises. Here is the story of Abraham, from beginning to end. Abraham was originally called Abram and was born in Ur of the Chaldeans. God called Abram to leave his homeland and go to the land of Canaan, which God promised to give to him and his descendants. Abram obeyed God and left his homeland, taking his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all of their possessions. As they traveled through the land of Canaan, Abram built altars to God and called on his name. However, when a famine struck the land, Abram went to Egypt to find food. In Egypt, Abram lied to Pharaoh, saying that Sarai was his sister instead of his wife. Pharaoh took Sarai into his household, but God punished him with plagues. Pharaoh realized that Sarai was Abram's wife and sent them away with gifts. When Abram returned to the land of Canaan, he and his nephew Lot decided to separate because their flocks and herds were too large to graze in the same area. Lot chose to settle near Sodom, a city known for its wickedness, while Abram stayed in Canaan. God again promised Abram that he would give him many descendants and that his offspring would inherit the land of Canaan. Abram believed God, even though he and his wife were childless and past the age of childbearing. Sarai suggested that Abram have a child with her Egyptian maidservant, Hagar. Abram agreed, and Hagar gave birth to a son, Ishmael. However, this was not the child that God had promised Abram. 13 years later, God appeared to Abram and changed his name to Abraham, which means, father of many nations. God also changed Sarai's name to Sarah, which means, princess. God promised Abraham that Sarah would have a son, and his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Sarah did indeed have a son, whom they named Isaac. When Isaac was a young boy, God tested Abraham's faith by commanding him to sacrifice Isaac. Abraham obeyed God, but at the last moment, God provided a ram for the sacrifice and spared Isaac's life. Abraham lived a long life and had many descendants, as God had promised. His descendants became the nation of Israel, and through them, Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, was born. In summary, the story of Abraham is one of faith and obedience to God. Abraham believed God's promises, even when they seemed impossible, and obeyed God's commands, even when they were difficult. Through Abraham and his descendants, God fulfilled his promise to bless all the nations of the world.